This is not complicated. When you consolidate schools, you look on a list and say, where are our most empty schools? Where are the fewest kids going? You start there. Where are schools that are having the biggest challenges, that have been failing, not just these kids, but generations of kids going to those schools, and you shut them down and give them.
There were no real public schools that got an F in the grading period 21 to 22 per the Florida Department of Education website. There were only 2 real public schools that got F grades in the latest grades released by the Florida Department of Education. Some grades for schools did drop after the pandemic. We can speculate as to why that was. Was testing worse because the students had stress from staying home during the pandemic? Did the fact of the pandemic cause stress to the students as they saw friends and family members die from COVID? We can speculate. But the fact is, only 2 real public schools got an F in the last grades that was published by the Florida Department of Education. I want to know if Rory Diamond has ever suggested to state legislators that charter schools that are underutilized or that got F grades be closed, shut down, as he puts it. Do we even have a worksheet somewhere that shows which charter schools are underutilized? Because charter schools are getting our capital outlay funding. Rory Diamond prevented us from voting on the referendum in 2019 when the referendum said charter schools would get a portion of the sales tax referendum as needed. Everyone knew at the time that there was a strong possibility that he was preventing us from voting in 2019 so that the legislators in 2020 could pass a law forcing us to give our sales tax referendum, a large chunk of our sales tax referendum, to charter schools. And that's exactly what happened. The state legislators passed that law, and now $860 million, as of the last estimate, is being given to charter schools from our sales surtax money. That's not the district's choice. That is what the legislators forced us to do. So when you complain, please keep in mind who is making this stuff happen.
By investing in their schools, communities invest in their own futures. And
Please listen to what April Carney says at the March 11th School Board Workshop. Do you hear her expressing strong opposition to closing the Beaches elementary schools? I don't.
Using the Seabreeze location to build, to combine San Pablo and Seabreeze, but to use the San Pablo location instead, so that we have more of a, we'd really have like a K-12 campus where Fletcher Middle and Fletcher High School is right now, to have a more centrally located location if we were to combine Seabreeze and San Pablo. That was one of the conversations. I didn't know if there would be a difference in cost for those 2 locations if we were to stick to Seabreeze versus moving the location to San Pablo, because there's also traffic considerations we have to think about too if we were to put a larger campus there. I know we looked at the map and talked about shifting, and maybe it would give us an option to add more parking for Fletcher High School. as well. There's a lot of variables here, and I'm happy to talk collectively with the board about what they think, who have, you know, familiar with the Fletcher area.
Dr. Hershey?
Through the chair to Board Member Carney, one thing I would just like to know is, what do you like about the plan, and what is your preference? Because I think that while we might have individual perspectives about different districts, we don't necessarily live within those districts and understand all the nuances in that community. So it's very important for me as a board member to understand, out of all these, this is my, you know, I don't want to say my favorite, I don't know if you want to go that far, but which is your preference and what you like, and what your concerns are?
So I struggle because there's pros and cons to each one. When I think about the appetite of the community, what they would like, we know that we had surveyed the community about Seabreeze being a K-8, but it won't be large enough to really sustain the construction cost. So that's an issue. We have a lot of emotional attachment to our schools out at the beaches. Atlantic Beach is a big one, San Pablo is a big one, and I've got 160 families that come through that gate from Naval Station Mayport every morning at Anchor. And so there's a lot of emotional attachment. And so you know, my heart feels one way, but my brain feels the other way. I want us to be able to have the best possible options at the beaches for our kids, but I also don't want to let go of that neighborhood school feel, which a lot of the beaches schools have, like in Atlantic Beach or San Pablo. We have a lot of people that have bought into those communities so that their kids could walk or ride their bikes to school. And so if we're closing ABE, which has a very strong parent community, has their own nonprofit, and does a lot in the community, what is that going to look like? And what are we going to do with that space if we close ABE? To me, it's similar to like an Ortega situation. Now, this proposed option, I think, on paper makes the most sense. I also think the 3 K-8s with my particular community might also make sense.